Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. I hope you're doing all okay out there. What a weekend we had of NFL. Plenty to talk about between me and Jonny. Welcome back. Unfortunately, we were going to have Sky phone in from abroad, lands unknown, America, the land of the free, as he was at the New York Jets Patriots game. However, his Wi-Fi, unfortunately, is not cutting the mustard for us. So he's not going to be joining us tonight, but I'm sure when he gets back or next week, he's going to tell us all about his experience on game day. It looked like it was yakking it down rain, though, Jonny. So I'm sure he was soggy, drunk, and, well, I can imagine pretty cheerful as well, to be fair, after the result.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. And, obviously you got to see some incredible quarterback play between two of the best quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean, full credit to the Patriots. They, it was a slugfest, I think, between two teams who are struggling offensively, but any game's a good game. I think we just love to watch football. So, unfortunately, yeah, he's not here today, but we've got plenty to talk about after a very exciting weekend.
Lots and lots to talk about, and we will kick off with myself talking about what was a record-breaking week in Miami. And it was a don't blink, don't turn the channel, don't change the TV, because the score was just running away with itself. I mean, Miami beating the Denver Broncos 70-20. I mean, not even beating, that is just ransacking the Denver Broncos and just beating them up on all levels. They had 726 offensive yards and scored 10 touchdowns. For all you fantasy lovers out there, Raheem Mostert got 45.2 points. Tyreek Hill got 33.7. And Devon Achane, everyone said A-Chain, but he's gone on the record on Twitter today to say it's Achane. Or Ashan, I think actually he might have even put. He got 56.3 points. So I can imagine not many people probably had him in their starting lineup, and they probably kicked themselves for it. But this was just such a freak game, wasn't it, Jonny? I mean, absolutely crazy. It's the largest amount of singular points scored by a team in a game since 2011, and that was the New Orleans Saints who beat the Atlanta Falcons 62-7. In terms of all time, they were only 2 points away from the record, which was set in 1966 by Washington, who beat the New York Giants 72-41. They actually took a knee towards the end of the game, and everyone was like, "No, go and break the record. Go and break the record." I think they wanted, the Broncos to go away with some sort of, I don't know, pride. I don't know, credit. I don't know what really it was at that point. Obviously, it's been lots in the media about this huge win. It's an embarrassing day out for the Denver Broncos. Let's put it bluntly. We might be slamming the Broncos on this show, but I mean, your thoughts on this is straight away. I mean, I was watching Red Zone, so it was just like, wow, they just keep going back. Like, this is insane. How many more touchdowns can they score?
They were incredible on Sunday. I mean, the Dolphins offense has been doing, some crazy things, I think, not just at the start of this year, but I think towards at points last year, obviously to his injury, last year had a huge impact in how they played. But finally, I think we're seeing, Mike McDaniel's play calling, his coaching ability really coming to the limelight, and he's, just going, keeps creeping up the coaching sort of leaderboards. I think, he's one of the most feared play callers out there, and I think just the explosive running game, how fast and quick so many of the Dolphins playmakers were, was just frightening to see. I think they are possibly the most feared team in the AFC right now. They're obviously unbeaten, came into this game in great form, and I think a lot of us expected this to be a comfortable Miami win over a fairly poor Broncos team, but you can't even say that the Broncos were all that bad. It was purely because Miami were just so destructive, and they did all this without Jalen Waddle as well. They're probably their second best playmaker. So they are a team that are averaging, I think, around 45 points a game. That's so hard to beat, and I think McDaniel has turned this team into just a complete juggernaut, and the defense is coming together as well nicely under Vic Fangio. They're really becoming a complete team. So an absolutely historic day for them on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, to turn down the chance to become, to have the record for the amount of points scored just does. Speaks volumes, and they had so much time left as well. It could have been 80, 90 points easily on Sunday. So yeah, I'm all aboard the tour and the Dolphins train. I can't see much getting in their way. I know they have obviously the Bills coming up and other divisional sort of games, but yeah, I wouldn't be backing against them. I think it will be a close. I'm not sure what the betting sort of saying for the game against the Bills, but two teams obviously informal. The Bills have got back to that stage obviously with a big win over the Commanders this weekend, and will probably be favoured in with the home field advantage. But yeah, I'm not backing against this Dolphins team. No way.
Yeah, I mean, their first 3 games, they've scored 36 in the opener against the Chargers, scored 34, so a close game, only 2 points. Dolphins-Patriots game 24-17, only a touchdown in it there. And then obviously 70-20, you're right, they go to Buffalo. They then host the New York Giants, and then host the Carolina Panthers. They then go to Philadelphia. Then after they've got Patriots again, I mean, I won't continue after that really, because it's really this next string of 4 or 5 games, isn't it, Jonny? Because like you said, you're all aboard the tour and the Dolphins train. And that was going to be my question really is how far do you think this can go? And don't get me wrong, this team is not going to score 50 points every week for the rest of the season. We know that. They are probably not going to go unbeaten. We know that. Let's pump the brakes on that, because that is a very, very hard feat. But what do you think the limit is actually for this? In a realistic term, what is the limit for this Miami Dolphins team? Because they have come out of the blocks. We've seen people like Dallas Cowboys come out of the blocks this year, and the Arizona Cardinals stop that very, very quickly in a very surprising result over there. Do you think this is? When I think of like the Steelers as well, who had a really great run of unbeaten games only a handful of years ago, we were not the team that this Miami team is. What is the ceiling for this team really? Because at the minute, everyone will say they go to the Super Bowl. However, the pragmatists will halt the momentum of that conversation quite quickly, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic, but personally, I think the sky is the limit for this Dolphins team. I think if they can get to, just looking at the schedule, they've got difficult games. You mentioned the Eagles,
I think that's their first true test.
Yeah,
the Eagles. I don't think the Bills will actually be as big a.
Yeah,
I don't think the margin will be as big as.
I think that the Eagles will have I think they've got 4 weeks until the Eagles. I think that's the true test. We know how destructive they can be as a run blocking team, and I think. That's a big obstacle in the course. We know the Chiefs obviously. I think Steve Spagnuolo's doing a really good job with the young Chiefs defense. So we'll see how that gets. And obviously the Jets, they've got to play, who we know all about their defense, let alone obviously their offensive problems. But yeah, I really can see them going in, winning, taking a real grasp on the AFC East. I think they're the best team in the division. I know the Bills have come back, but there's still, I think a couple of question marks from, people around the sort of team. But they are back on track. But I can't go back against the Dolphins, I don't think. And if they can get, obviously home advantage in the playoffs, get a playoff win, then anything's possible. I could really see them. I only see the Chiefs at present being the main threat to the Dolphins based on what we've seen so far this season. Obviously wins for the Bengals, the Chargers this week, but yeah, I don't think they're at the same level as what we've seen in Miami. So yeah, I definitely think they've got a point to prove in that sort of respect of making it through a season and getting to the next stage. But yeah, if they keep going, then I don't see that as a problem. They've got players to come back if they can stay healthy. Then yeah, I think that's bodes well for a really successful season.
I think keeping healthy is key. I don't want to disparage that the Bills are a bad team because their defense
Yeah,
did
of
a hell
course.
of a job against the
Yeah.
Commanders. However, it is the Commanders. We need to, we do need to put that into perspective as well. This Bills team hasn't been great out the blocks, and they have got a very good offense, and they've got a fairly decent defense. I know they did, like I said, did really well against Commanders, but I don't think they faced a high threat opposition like the Dolphins yet. I mean, who have the Bills played so far? Let me just have a quick check of who they've played.
They played the.
So they've played.
Who did they play in week 2?
They played the Jets and the Raiders and the Commanders. And with Rodgers going down in the first 7 seconds or whatever it was his play, that became a game that it was not as competitive as it was going to be. I know they still lost that game, but it wasn't the test it would have been if Rodgers had played the whole game. They beat the Raiders. They're always going to beat the Raiders, beat them 38-10. They smashed the doors off the Commanders. We'd have always predicted that 37-3. This is the Bills test as well coming up next weekend for them. So that's going to be their litmus test for how they're going to be for this season. This could be a real shootout. You know what? We say big shootout. It'll turn out to be 17-14 now. But this could be a real shootout. It just depends. It depends who wants it more for this game. I think the only disadvantage Dolphins have is if they had home advantage again, I think it would be all on their side. I think going to Buffalo is tough. It's tough for any team to go there. It's always been tough for teams to go there. The only good thing about it is it's not exactly freezing cold up there yet. It's still, the weather's quite mild. If they went and played them into, November, this could be very, momentum and everything like that. The weather, it could be a different story, but the Dolphins are really feeling their groove at the minute. On the flip side, the Denver Broncos, is this panic stations now? Russell Wilson, terrible year last year. They changed the coach. They're getting Sean Payton. They give up picks to bring in Sean Payton as well. I mean, this defense has got some. Last year, that's what we all said. Yeah, they've been absolutely trash all year, but at least their defense looks like they can pull it out of the bag and they can do really well. With players like Pat Surtain on that team and Randy Gregory. And then their offense is not exactly bad. Javonte Williams, decent running back. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton has not been a bad player the last few weeks, even though he had a poor season last year. What are the Broncos fans now thinking?
Yes, it's obviously not a good weekend for the Broncos. It's been a terrible start to the season. Once again, unfortunately, they've got 2 games coming up against the Bears and the Jets to hopefully get themselves back on track. But I don't know, I don't even know if it is. You call it a honeymoon period for Sean Payton. It's been an absolute disaster for him. I even think in the off season as well, there was a lot of chit chatter. Obviously, you spoke about what they gave up to go after a coach. We know how good Sean Payton is and how great he made that Saints team during the the mid 2010s. But yeah, it's the same old story. I think with the Broncos, they're getting embarrassed, and the play calling just doesn't look to be the standard of what we sort of expect. I just think there's just been a lot of negative energy around Denver and Payton. A lot of comments he made, about whether it be about the Jets. I know he'd made comments about the Dolphins and Tua in particular last season. All these sort of things come back in the media and have come back to haunt him particularly. So, there's obviously a lot of pressure on him already, and that's not bode well for the start of the season. I think, they've got a must-win game against probably the worst team in the NFL right now in the Chicago Bears. If they don't win that, then yeah, of course it's panic stations for Denver. I don't think we're not at the stage, or we're not. There's not the same sort of discussions about Payton and Nathaniel Hackett from last year, and I don't think there will be. Later, how many weeks they go on without a win. They've invested a lot, and they have to stick with it. They can't trigger finger and sack someone else. Two coaches in the space of the season. God knows what they'll be paying for those coaches to leave the positions, but. Yeah, it's really frustrating. I think they just need a big reset in terms of players.
But the problem was they had a big reset. They did that. They tried to get different quarterbacks year on year.
Yeah,
they've tried this already as an organization, and it's not panned out every year. It's not panned out at all.
And it hasn't. And to be fair, I didn't even think that they don't even have the first round draft picks for next year, given the Russell Wilson trade from to Seattle. But yeah, it's really frustrating, I think, for Broncos fans, because it's just the same old story. And the defense was meant to be their big thing, and really showed up this week and becoming the second worst defeat in NFL history.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to go out there and see some really hilarious videos, Mike McDaniels was once a ball boy for head coach Mike Strahan over at the Denver Broncos. A very young, fresh-faced Mike McDaniels does interviews for the Denver Broncos. And now he is coaching the team that is quite literally smashed the doors off of the Denver Broncos. So it's all over social media. So go and check that out. It's very, very funny, very. He's such a personality in the NFL, and he's really good fun. And it's quite nice to see his team winning, because he does have fun with it. He has fun at press conferences. He's got a sense of humor about it. It seems like he doesn't take himself too seriously, and that's all well and good. But then you have to perform and get the results. And he's obviously got a massive result here. But it was even at the tail end of last year. You saw that this team was going to be something at some point. That Tua got injured a lot last year, so he had to they had Teddy Bridgewater in. Teddy got injured. It was a bit of a mishmash of quarterback, but there was always signs in this team, and there is always going to be signs in the team. When you've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you're going to have to be good, because the Miami Dolphins fan base will get on you very quickly if you're not making your best players perform. And that's really the quarterback position, I suppose. And Tua has been really incredible this year so far, and it's going to be very exciting seeing them moving forward. We'll move over to you, Jonny. Obviously, you're going to bring a topic to the table. It is about, it might be about an AFC team. It depends what you want to talk about first. I suppose we sort of prepped for Sky being here, so this is a bit of a free fall of what we can talk about and what we will talk about now. So, what do you want to chat about?
Yeah, I think this weekend was a big reality check for a few teams, and it was good to see that teams finally get off the board. Defeats for the likes of, I think, the Jaguars, the Falcons, and even the Saints. Obviously a close game, but I think this sort of brought those teams back down to earth. I think they just need to look at themselves and regroup. We've had obviously quite high expectations about the Jaguars and the Falcons in particular. One team I would quite like to talk about is the Indianapolis Colts, and how well I think they have started the season, and I think they could be a really frisky team down the stretch, and in a quite wide open. Obviously the Jaguars are the best team, but they've now got 2 defeats, and the Colts have a winning record. I think to do this without the star quarterback, the rookie Anthony Richardson, who has really impressed over the first couple of games of the season. I think this speaks credit about how differently they're approaching the games, and their new head coach Shane Steichen, I think, is really come out and shown what a good coach he is. I think the play calling against the Ravens, obviously there were some, I think, sometimes where I think the Ravens could have won the game, but to keep in it when no one really, I think, backed them for a victory was quite remarkable. I'm not saying that the Colts are going to go on a run to make the Super Bowl, but I think they've got a really, really impressive defense, a lot better than last year, a lot more energy, I think, in the first few weeks of the season. And I think that the schedule potentially for them could work in their favor, like I mentioned, against their divisional rivals being quite wide open. They've got the Rams, the Titans, and then the Jaguars. So 3-week stretch, which on current form, they could easily translate into a couple, if not 3 wins. So I think they got obviously got a bit of a break against a good Ravens team who have had a lot of bad luck in terms of injuries. But I think they're a lot better than we build at the start of the season. And I think that speaks volumes for the coaching staff and what they've been able to do with obviously circumstances which we've not even mentioned about Jonathan Taylor. I'm hoping to see him come back into this team if he's not traded. So yeah, I think there's good times ahead for Indy.
I definitely think it's an impressive statement to win and beat a Ravens team, but yet they were injury back. I mean, I think they had 9 starters on both sides of the ball altogether out, which is tough break. But this is the Ravens get injured year on year. This is a running theme, season on season, but the Ravens get injured. I don't understand why. I think there's got to be something that they need to look at in terms of maybe their recruiting, the player retention they have. I'm not saying it's the players' fault, but there is, I don't know, but's the wrong word. However, there's something not right. I don't know whether they're going for high-end talent, where the talent is high-end but risky, and they're just hoping that they can get the top-end talent, the top performance out of that talent, but it's going to be a certain time frame. It might be just the style of play they do. I don't know. I mean, this is the NFL. This is what happens, unfortunately. These things do occur. But it just seems so strange to me with the Ravens about how much they do get injured, really, because it is a year-on-year thing. But we're focusing on the Colts, so I give Colts props. It's very impressive getting a win with Gardner Minshew as your quarterback. You without Anthony Richardson, hopefully he'll come back fully fit and healthy next week. He's been so impressive to watch so far. He's been everything that people thought he could be in the NFL, but was just lacking the experience in a lot of people's eyes, which it was true. I believed it in my eyes as well, that Richardson was lacking maybe that top-end experience, and it was a risk. I think the risk has been rewarding so far. However, when a quarterback plays in that style, you are going to get injuries every now and then. That is the reality that the Colts are going to have to live with. I'm afraid the Ravens live with that reality. The Arizona Cardinals live with that reality. When you have that style, that's what happens. But the thing is, when they are on the field, they are just electric. I mean, Richardson has been electric. I've been very negative about the wide receiver core at Indianapolis, and I still don't think it's very good. But Pittman had a hell of a game against these guys. I've always liked their defense as well. I've just always thought they needed to step up, and they certainly have seen signs of life of them stepping up. And if they can keep improving, like I say, this division is a lot more open. I still think the Jags will come true. I still think I think they will dominate this division. I just think it's the anomaly of players like CJ Stroud and Richardson that could boost up there. But it is anyone's division in a way. The Titans have been a lot better than anyone gave them credit for. Henry looks in fine form. They've had some decent quarterback play as well. Their defense is doing a lot better than people have expected. This division's a bit more competitive than maybe we were giving it credit for. I mean, me and Sky were on here and we rinsed the South. We said the South on both sides of the divisions was poor reading and poor to talk about, really. AFC being a lot more fun, I suppose. But this AFC South is looking a bit more competitive than everyone first thought. And how far do you think this team can go? Well, not even how far this team can go. What do they need to do to improve in these next coming weeks to keep themselves in the mix to top this division? Because they could top this division with not a great record, as we've seen the last few seasons with like the Bucks, for example, last year, and still get that playoff spot. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I sort of said, I don't expect the Colts to go on they could put themselves in a great position to make the playoffs, but like you, I still think the Jags will come good, and I'm fully behind Trevor Lawrence, getting back to form and leading this team to the playoffs. So I don't, the expectations are relatively low for the Colts, and I think they always were. The team under a new quarterback, it'll take time to gel. But yeah, I think they've started really well. I think under those sort of circumstances, as you say, the division is wide open. I think if they can, if they can finish, close to 500, I think that would be an incredible season for the Colts, because, like you say, CJ Stroud is impressing with the Texans. A huge surprise win over the Jags. The Titans, yes, they lost against the Browns. Derrick Henry didn't particularly have a great game, but they've still got the firepower, I think. And whenever Mike Vrabel's there, I think they can challenge anyone. So I think just sticking with those guys and building on something for next year, and introducing the rookies around the field, a bit more, I think is progress. Head coach in his first year as well. So yeah, I think they've done a nice job of starting to not rebuild the roster, but obviously in a new era, finally under the franchise quarterback. They've been longing since Andrew Luck, and I'm just enjoying the energy around Indy, and let's see where they can go.
There definitely seems to be a bit of a change going on with them. Finally, they copy and paste and cut and slash their quarterback so many times. Philip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Jacoby Brissett, players like that tried to make it fit, and Richardson seems like the piece to move them forward. It's just then getting the vision of the head coach and the front office all together for them to make a good push for it next year. I think, like I said, I agree with the 5. If they go 500, I think that's a good season. I think that's a really good season for the Colts. I think it shows they can be competitive. I think, like I say a lot, the good teams and the great teams win the close games. The good teams, they win some, but they don't always win everyone. That's where I think the Colts are at the minute. I think they're good. I don't think they'll win all of these close matchups. I think the great one, I think they could progress to be one of the great teams that has that season. And it can be about scheduling. I mean, we saw the Minnesota Vikings do that last year, and they were a great team last year. People are already saying, that they've crashed back to the earth. I never believed in them. It was just a one-season wonder. No, I think teams are lucky. It's a long season. Teams get that look. They get that rub of the green, and they also have scheduling favorability. They find their groove. It can be a lot of things. I don't necessarily think that it's a one-season wonder thing. I think just the stars can align for you, and you can go on these great runs. And if the Colts got that aligned, I suppose, and that rub of the green, they could definitely go far. I think they've got the capability. Do I think they have the Dolphins' capability in the AFC? No, I don't. I think the Dolphins have got a bit more firepower and a bit more experience, obviously at the quarterback position and in all the other positions as well, of going on a deep run. Tyreek Hill's been in Kansas City for so many years, winning multiple Super Bowls with them. They have that around them. Sticking with the AFC, I thought you would like to go to the LA Chargers, because you've got a bit of a hot take. I felt like maybe I misread it when you texted me. Maybe you're backtracking.
Maybe I'm a bit, tongue in cheek. I think obviously not started particularly well. The Chargers with 2 defeats, but they went to the Vikings and scraped a victory. First of all, I think we've got to talk about Brandon Staley, because there was already so much pressure on him, and I think a defeat would have led to huge rising calls for him to leave the role. Obviously the big call, the 4th and 1 situation with, it was less than 2 minutes to go on their own 20-30 yard line. Can't remember exactly, but to go for it in that position, I don't think there would be any other coach in the league that would have seen that situation and done the same. 99.
It was certainly a make or break play for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of different things. Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I think that just adds to the negativity about the coaching and the play calling in LA. Obviously Brandon Staley's been hailed as this huge stats guy, and that's bringing great things for the game, but it just hasn't clicked for him in the Chargers. That being said, I do think that Justin Herbert's having a really, really good season quietly, because obviously the Chargers have been disappointing. But I tried to focus a little bit on this game on Sunday, and I think he was, obviously it was a great quarterback battle between him and Kirk Cousins again, who's been performing incredibly well. But I think Justin Herbert has only done himself wonders in terms of the MVP battle at this stage. It's obviously very early doors, and we've already talked about this last week about throwing names out there like Tua and potentially even a non-QB, given the I think the relatively slow start that we've seen from the likes of Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, etc. But I think quietly, Herbert, if he continues the way he's going, he's only going to creep up those leaderboards for the award. I think because of Brandon Staley's well, not inability, I suppose, but it's obviously a make or break year for him. And we know this downside that he's potentially brought to the team. But I think the switch to Kellen Moore as the defensive coordinator has really opened up Herbert and the team's attack. So they've got an big injury to Mike Williams, which is frustrating. Austin Eckler's obviously out. But if the Chargers can, win games in the coming weeks, I think that'll be largely down to Herbert and his incredible ability. Obviously, Keenan Allen had a great game, and the partnership there is continuing to grow. But yeah, he's so important to this team. I'm always been a really big Herbert fan, and let's hope it can continue for the Chargers, because they are on the road. Their season was very close to, I think, completely crashing against the Vikings, who, in turn with that defeat have gone to 0-3, and perhaps their season's pretty much over already. But yeah, the Chargers, they can probably go on a roll, I'd say. I'm really looking forward to seeing the game against the Chiefs, because I think I've mentioned, how impressive they've been compared to what I thought they could be this year. I think the young stars are really coming out, but yeah, I think that's where Herbert will really test Kansas City. So looking forward to that in a few weeks.
So you're a believer in Justin Herbert, and like a lot of people out there, a lot of people that help out a bit, do a lot of work behind the scenes in the franchise tag and on screen. I'm not overly sure about Herbert. It's been a big source of debate for a lot of us within our group chats. I love his style of play. I love him as a quarterback. The team frustrates me. This team has just given up so many seasons. They have been in such prime positions every season. They've got the talent. It just doesn't come together year on year, and it is incredibly frustrating, because I just feel like these are wasted years for Justin Herbert. He should have gone to at least two. He should have been in the conversation for 2 AFC championships the last 2 years. That's how much, that's his ability. I think his ceiling ability. That's where he should be at, and it's just not come together year on year. I remember leaving one of the NFL London games. This was some years ago, and I was fairly intoxicated, I have to admit. And I turned, we were chatting, and I went, the Chargers had played. They played at Wembley. It was at Wembley. Chargers played at Wembley game. Must have been against the Jags, and I think they won. And I went, I think this Chargers team could go to the Super Bowl this year. If not this year, maybe next year. They are really something. I think they've really got it going on. I think Herbert's got it. I was like, they're going to go. And I turned to Chargers fan, and Chargers fan said to me, not a hope in hell. We always fall flat on our face. We always fall flat on our face. This team won't progress. It is very exciting. We're playing good football. But no, you got no chance, mate. And I was like, well, you're an idiot. Even if you're a Giants fan, I don't care. I think this team's going to go all the way at some point. And he was right. I should have definitely trusted the Chargers fan, because they're outside the stadium, because I know nothing, clearly. Because they have. That's exactly what they've done. I'm going to pose an interesting question. That fourth down play in the 2 minutes, they don't get it. They lose that game to go 0-3. Brandon Staley gets sacked next day?
Yeah, probably.
I'd be talking. You got sacked next day. Do you think that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back?
I think so. I think they've already made the move in terms of obviously Kellen Moore coming in and as the offensive coordinator.
Kellen Moore, amongst a lot of people, is going to be a head coach one day.
Exactly.
A lot of people feel about him.
Exactly. He was. I think he had a lot of interviews this year for, or he's now entitled to be linked with head coaching role. So I see it as a little bit of a move which could translate into Moore becoming the head coach if Staley was to leave. Obviously, two different styles. Staley's very defensive, more brings that offensive quality. But I think already we've seen how good the partnership is looking between him and Justin Herbert, and how much I think they're backing Herbert. Obviously, got the big extension this off season. I mean, it's just about the players around them, because they have so much talent. But there's noise about JC Jackson, obviously Mike Williams doing his, I think he did his ACL, didn't he? So he'll be out for the season. Yeah. Hopefully we can see some players really step up. I don't think Joshua Kelly had a great game in this week, but I think he's shown signs being a decent runner behind Austin Eckler, and tandem with him. Look forward to seeing more of Quinton Johnston as well. But
he's had a really disappointing start to season. Really, he seems like wide receiver 4
massively, but obviously we don't want to speak ill of an injury, but hopefully this is the opportunity now for him to really step up a gear and show his first round talent. So I still think that Brandon Staley is, if they lose to the Raiders, then I think that could even be him gone there and then, because like you say, they've got the Cowboys and the Chiefs thereafter. They could easily be 1 and 5, or they could be, I'm backing them to be, a decent record by the time they play the Bears on the 3rd of October against, well, I'm sure we'll come on to the Cowboys briefly, but I can see them beating the Raiders and being competitive against the Chiefs. So maybe that's a chance to save Staley and the Chargers.
Yeah, we might as well talk about the Cowboys, because they had a glistening start to the season. Looked like they were Super Bowl favorites. A lot of, particularly Eagles fan, Gareth, who in the podcast reminded us that they are always we dem boys in the first 2 games, and it all comes crashing down very, 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 very quickly. And it did come crashing down very, very, very quickly with the Arizona Cardinals beating them. I haven't got the score. I can't remember the scoreline now for the life of me.
I think it was 2014, I think it was. So, comfortable.
Yeah, so, I mean, this team really shot out the blocks. I mean, people were saying, like, this defense is going to be one of the best defenses this year. Micah Parsons is unstoppable. Dak's finding his feet, finding his team, finding the rhythm of this team. Yeah, 28-16. Yeah, that was the result in the end. And Tony Pollard's looking good. You've got the best O-line in the league. Well, one of the best O-lines in the league. They could really. People were saying, like, first 2 weeks, this team is going to push the Eagles to the last day of the season. This doesn't mean they won't. But how much is this really maybe tempered expectations for the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, they were the juggernaut. I think we've talked up as being, the best team we've seen, or them and the 49ers 2 weeks into the season. So to come up against the Cardinals, who've been accused of tanking and losing in fairly,
well, they are in my book the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think at the minute
it's I'll come on to the Cardinals in a minute, because I've actually been genuinely impressed with particularly the defense this year. But in terms of Dallas, I think they just looked. Obviously, they couldn't stop the Cardinals' run game, which was a really, really big factor in the defeat, with big plays from Rondale Moore and James Conner. Really putting a big dagger into.
I'm going to take it vaguely back. They're not the worst team in the NFL. I suddenly said that. Was like, maybe I shouldn't have said.
I'm Team Cardinals.
They're definitely down. They're definitely at bottom 2 with Bears. Bottom 3 maybe.
They've not got a lot of talent around, have they? So, but yeah, the Cowboys were woeful. Really poor red zone, conversion from Dak. So I think it was just a poor day out of the office for Mike McCarthy and his team. I wouldn't take too much. I wouldn't dwell on this defeat too much. I think it's how they bounce back from this. It's obviously a real shock, because I don't think anyone expected the Cowboys to lose. they've got the Patriots next week and then the 49ers. So potentially 2 difficult games. But yeah, I'm hoping that, well, I'm thinking that the Patriots will be a bounce back game for them next week. But yeah, I think they've just got to get the play call and the discipline as well back on track. For the Cardinals, I'm so glad that they have, I think, shut down the taboo of tanking with a real, I suppose, headline grabbing victory.
They can just win one game though, Jonny, the whole season.
Yeah, true.
That is true. Tanking.
Do they play the Bears at all this year?
Maybe
they do. Christmas Eve. That for me at the moment could be the Panthers aren't looking too good as well, but yeah, that could be the clash for the first overall pick. But I thought they've been really, really good actually this season, particularly because we've had no expectations on them because they traded away a lot of players. They've got injuries, defensive names we hardly recognize, many people out there, and obviously trading for Josh Dobbs as their starting QB, someone who, only started a handful of games and only picked up his first starting win this week. And the amount of draft picks that they've accumulated, all points towards, looking solely towards 2024. But, you've got to praise the players and the coaches and the GM as well to an extent, because, he's obviously been able to put together a competitive team. They stayed with the Commanders in week 1. They probably should have beaten the Giants last week. You're talking about a team who could potentially, at this stage, if things had gone, slight things had gone their way, being 2-1, even 3-0.
If Kyler starts,
expected.
If Kyler starts,
exactly.
They could be 3-0. They could be. I mean, I'm a bit more hot on Kyler than other people, but
I don't know. Obviously, they've still got the huge extension to go with it. It would be incredible if they had both Kyler Murray and Caleb Williams on the team next year. Well,
some would say that was a severe misuse of funds, I think.
The NFL and salaries and whatever. But I'm enjoying watching this Cardinals team perform above the narrative of them being, the worst looking team in the NFL. So, the team are playing hard. Hopefully, it will continue through the rest of the season because, players are playing for the futures. Kyler, when he comes back, will be playing for his future, and that can motivate people, and that can, steer them away from being in contention to draft one of the top guys. So it might not be good for the franchise, the fan base as a whole, but I think the Cardinals look okay, and there may be a few more surprises down the line this year.
Well, there may be some surprises. You never know. But one thing that isn't a surprise is we will be at London, Wembley, NFL this weekend coming. The Atlanta Falcons take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Me, myself, and I will obviously be there. Jonny will be there as well. Andrew and will be there as well. We will have lots of us down at the games, and I may be out and about as well on the Saturday, going to some of the fan pubs. So it'll be really nice to chat to you. If anyone recognises me or the franchise tag jumper that I'll probably wear, then feel free to come and say hello. And obviously, we'll be around the stadium as well. We'll be doing content there. We've also luckily going to the Atlanta Falcons press conference as well, which I believe we may be streaming live. So that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out as well. But the NFL London games are finally here. And one exciting time it is, like I said, we will be at all of the NFL London games. So make sure you keep an eye out for us there. It's going to be very exciting, probably very expensive next 3 weeks for all of us. But we love it, don't we? It's only a short amount of time. It's only ever October we get it, and a bit of November sometimes. So I'm sure it'll be a real good time. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Jonny, for joining me. We'll bring back Sky next week, I'm sure. But until then, have a good rest of your week.